Hey there, thank you so much for clicking on this video. Let me start this one off by saying that this video is going to be slightly different to my previous three, because unlike those videos, this isn't going to be me arguing my opinion or thoughts on something and trying to put it across in a fun and informative way. This video is going to be a lot more speculative. A lot of what I'm going to be doing here is theorizing and trying to work out stuff that's happening behind Sony's very secretive doors. As you'll now know from the title and the thumbnail of this video, I want to look into a game that isn't even out yet. The reason I originally wanted to look into this is because before E3 this year, Sony announced the games that they'd have on their main stage, and among these games, Sony Bend Studios' Days Gone was mysteriously left out. For those who might not know about it, I'll briefly fill you in. Days Gone is a game that's currently in development at Sony Bend Studio. It's a PS4 exclusive set in a post-apocalyptic open world. You play as a man named Deacon St. John, a bounty hunter who, previously in his life, lost loved ones to the apocalypse. The game will make use of horde physics, and will present players with tense experiences of fighting and fleeing from hundreds of zombies at once, as well as dealing with other humans in a post-apocalyptic world. Days Gone was originally revealed in 2016, at the same time as Spider-Man, God of War, and Detroit Become Human. Three games that you'll notice were all released this year. So I, for one, thought it was extremely strange that Days Gone wasn't going to be shown at E3. Something seemed fishy to me. Why was the game not going to be shown on the main stage if it's going to be released earlier than Death Stranding, The Last of Us 2, and Ghost of Tsushima? Earlier on in the year, why was the game delayed? Why would Sony want to bring out a cinematic third-person zombie apocalypse game so close to the release of The Last of Us 2? Does Sony not believe in this game? Ultimately, I wanted to know what's gone wrong with Days Gone. Roll credits. So I did as much research as I could to find out what's gone wrong, and hopefully you'll enjoy this kind of detective-y, investigating style video. Seriously, why not get out a notepad, a pen, and a Sherlock-looking hat and make your own theories? We're probably going to be wrong, but hey, it's fun. So to make sure that everyone has the same information, and to show you as best I can that something is weird about Days Gone for those who might not agree with me in the first place, I want to take you back and look at everything that's happened in Days Gone's strange development timeline, and from there, I'll make some theories as to what's going on. So our timeline starts back in January of 2016, when it's reported that Sony have filed a trademark for something called Days Gone. Jump forward half a year to E3 2016, Days Gone is revealed to be a new game that's in development at Sony Bend Studio. Also at this E3, Spider-Man, God of War, and Detroit Become Human are revealed. All of these games get gameplay trailers, which suggests they're fairly far into their development cycles. Next, we stop off at PSX in 2016, where The Last of Us 2 is revealed, without gameplay, suggesting it's fairly early into development. Fast forward again, now to E3 2017. The next we hear from Days Gone is a new gameplay trailer during Sony's show, and I should say somewhere at this point along the line, Days Gone is given the release window of 2018. Also at the show, Detroit, Spider-Man, and God of War all get new gameplay trailers as well, which indicates these games are still on the same sort of development timeline. Paris Games Week 2017, The Last of Us 2 gets a new cinematic trailer. Gameplay still isn't revealed, again, signaling it's a ways off. Now fast forward to February 2018. Red Dead Redemption 2 is delayed for the second time, and is given a new release date of October 26th, 2018. March 2018. It's reported that Days Gone has been delayed till 2019. No reason for the delay is given. April 2018. God of War is released. May 2018. Now this is a big month. Firstly, Sony revealed that they are bringing their big four games to E3. The big four includes Spider-Man, The Last of Us Part 2, Death Stranding, and Ghost of Tsushima. The big four does not include Days Gone. Secondly, Detroit Become Human is released. Thirdly, Days Gone creative director John Garvin says in an interview that the game is finished, and has been played from start to finish by himself and playtesters, and that the game is now entering a polishing and tuning phase. Lastly, Sony Bend Studios start advertising job listings for various positions in the studio, and preferable for these positions is knowledge and experience of current and next-gen hardware. This leads some to speculate that there's a second game being developed by Sony Bend Studio. June 2018. Days Gone is given the release date of February 22nd, 2019. It's also confirmed that this release is before the release of The Last of Us 2. E3 2018. Sony follow their previously discussed Big Four formula, and Days Gone does not appear on Sony's main stage. Days Gone developers are interviewed by some video game publications, a new gameplay sequence is revealed, and gameplay for The Last of Us Part 2 is revealed. September 2018, Spider-Man on PS4 is released. Tokyo Game Show 2018, the same Days Gone gameplay section that was shown off at E3 is shown and is playable to the public at the show. That brings us to the present day. Still to come before the game is released, we have the Game Awards. In that time, we could get more Days Gone trailers and or a release date for The Last of Us 2, but I'm safely assuming that The Last of Us Part 2 will come out somewhere in the summer of 2019. Hopefully from all that, you now have some questions about it all yourself. Notably the fact that no reason is given given for a delay in March, even though the game is supposedly finished in May. What is that about? Another thing that I want to question is, what on earth is the creative director talking about when he talks about a polishing stage? I know we'd like to think that video games get ample time to polish and fine-tune before they're released, but I will happily burst that bubble and say that polishing time is an absolute luxury in game development. If you don't believe me, what do you think all of those patches are for when a game is released? Why do you think crunch time is such a notorious phase in the later stages of game development? Games don't always get time to polish and fine-tune, and if they do, they certainly don't get almost a year in which to do so, which Bend Studio will have had by the time the February release date comes around. Some other mysterious things are the curious case of the job listings that Bend started putting up in May. Interesting that they're looking for next-gen knowledgeable people. Also, why were Spider-Man, God of War, and Detroit all on the same development timeline as Days Gone, but Days Gone ended up falling so far behind? Okay, so that's all the clues and the evidence and why it's all significant. Now I want to give you some theories I've worked up. Theory number 1. Sony have screwed up. They didn't think or schedule properly, or some sort of first-party miscommunication happened which led to The Last of Us 2 and Days Gone being released extremely close to one another. Sony obviously know that The Last of Us Part 2 will be a home run and they're prioritizing it. God, imagine if that's the case. You're Sony Bend, a studio who have always operated kind of in the background, but then when you finally get the chance to show off and make something huge, Sony and Naughty Dog screw you over. Theory 2. Sony Bend are the ones who have screwed up. As I've just said, they're not used to making huge open world games with demanding physics systems, and they have no idea what it's like to try and keep up with the constantly shifting demands of console players who, in the time since the game was revealed, have been hit with blockbuster after blockbuster. They ran into serious developmental problems and they're trying to fix things, otherwise they could be on Sony's chopping block. But there's so much that those theories don't explain. Why are Sony Bend hiring more people if Sony know that they're underperforming? And surely Sony can't be so stupid as to prioritize just one of their first parties over the other. No, I think there's a much better explanation, one that brings in both of these and ties up most of the evidence. So here it is, the Holy Grail theory. Theory number 643. What? You were expecting it to be theory number 3? Well, can't always get what we want. Alright, I think that Sony Bend were doing a fine job of developing the game, and it was genuinely going to be released in 2018 alongside Spidey, God of War, and Detroit. My guess is it was probably billed for an October release. Remember that because it's important. Sony would have wanted that because it would have kept it away from The Last of Us Part 2, which will come out in 2019. But Red Dead Redemption 2 got a new release date for pretty much exactly when Days Gone was going to be released. Sony know how big a game Red Dead 2 will be. They'd rather not put Days Gone out to die against it. Sony want their games to do well, and they decided to delay it until February. Sony know that either way, releasing next to Red Dead 2 or releasing in the same year as The Last of Us were two less than perfect situations, but they saw the lesser of two evils being the already jam-packed Q1 of 2019. Is this the right decision? I'm not really sure. You might not have noticed, but we have a lot of zombie games coming out in 2019. But there's still something unexplained. Those weird job listings. Well, I think those job listings mean that when Sony decided to delay Days Gone, they realized that they could think ahead and kill two birds with one stone. Sony Bend have not just been polishing, and no, Bend don't have a second game in the works. They've been getting Days Gone ready to be a PlayStation 5 game. I think Days Gone will be a cross-generational game of sorts, one that will release with the PS4, but will be an advocate selling point game which will be available for the PS5 at launch, which in my head will be kind of November 2019 time. So, there it is, but I want to hear what you think. Let me know in the comments. But before I go, I want to take a second to thank you so much for watching. Tune in next time.